Hello, so welcome to Acumen's podcast once again. We have today a very different guest. We have Srinivas Ramanathan from Augtual Reality. It's a Bangalore-based innovation startup working in the domain of digital twins and metaverse or no-code metaverse technology. Srinivas is the Chief Business Officer at Augtual Reality, and he leads the initiatives on Fabric, which is the innovation tool that Augtual Reality has developed. Srinivas has 30 plus years of experience in the aerospace and defense domain, but I will allow Srinivas to add a few lines to that introduction, and we'll kick it off in this new segment on the Acumen podcast. So Srinivas, welcome to Acumen and thanks for doing this. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself and your experience in the aviation domain, and a little bit something that we don't know about you already.
Thanks, Ameya. Nice to be here, and great. It's been great working with you guys in putting the next piece of technology that could really help the aviation industry, and I think that's what we're going to be focusing on today.
Okay.
So where we have come is been okay. First, I'll begin with myself. Quick intro. I'm a mechanical engineer with experience in the global aerospace industry, more from an engineering services and manufacturing services standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Over 15 years was part of multiple programs like the 787, the 380, and the C series for Bombardier.
Nice.
Where we were basically doing all of the back-end engineering and product support on the lift systems, high lift systems, the structures, the electrical wiring, and also some of the major structural elements of the A220, that's the C series.
Nice.
So that experience has brought me to a stage where I could understand the engineering and manufacturing of aircraft.
Okay.
My association with Fabric over the last 2 years has added value to what Fabric is doing in the way that Fabric's focus has been mainly in addressing how they can improve the aftermarket experience in various product industries.
Okay.
And aerospace aviation is certainly one of them and at the top. And basically Fabric's focus has been on high value products, systems that pretty much go remote.
Mm.
And that's where the biggest value that we see for this technology that has been developed. And it has, thanks to Meta, it has brought us to Metaverse.
Right.
And how that has really changed or created a buzz in the tech industry is that it has, I think, as we look at it, we see it as being the next big change, delta change or step change in the way data is handled in industry.
Right.
And we see this across, not just in the aviation or MRO, but we see this across industry where the product OEMs have a certain level of digital maturity, but as it comes into the aftermarket, the operators, I think, can certainly up their game, and that is what we are here to help.
Right.
And I think that's where the collaboration and partnership that we initiated almost about a year back has really shown us the way on how to address the challenges in the aviation industry.
Certainly. That's great. So you touched upon a little bit about the metaverse, and for our audiences, let's go a little deeper into that element. Obviously, when it comes to the digital innovation side, the the focus now is shifting towards how to reduce the amount of digital efforts in coding, or the amount of effort that it takes to create a digital product. So it's also translating into a no-code metaverse.
Right.
And where do you see that going, and how do you foresee a no-code metaverse as it evolves into a full-scale global phenomena panning out in the aviation domain?
Right. Good point that you bring up right at the beginning. And Fabric's tool and the work done by Puneet, the founder, on deciding on a no-code environment, I think has been pretty significant in accelerating the kind of work that we are doing and getting it out quickly into industry. And our experience has been that typically what we have seen is customers nowadays don't have the patience for long development cycles of programs and products and solutions. They want to see quick turnaround and they want to see quick impact on their and a quick ROI. And that's where this no-code environment really helps. Where typical programs that we talk about don't go more than a few months. And the way we see Metaverse is that it is here to impact the most basic of all enterprises, which is data. And we have this, or I think our past 2 years of working with various industries has taught us that less than 1% of actual data is used in decision making.
Okay.
And that then brings us to the question of what do we term as data? Now, data is not just digital data that we are normally used to.
Right.
Data is a whole bunch of things, right from your documents, your manuals, your tacit knowledge, or the experience that a person gains in an industry, to all the 2D drawings, the engineering drawings, the process sheets.
Correct.
There is so much of stuff that is left out of this term called digital data. And that is where I think the metaverse can really play a huge game-changing role in trying to unify all of that onto a platform where you now start visualizing data much more intuitively. Because this is again another saying that everything around us is 3D.
Correct.
But for some reason in engineering we are taught to think in 2D. And that is, I think, going to change significantly.
Right.
And it's a combination of various tools. So you're able to now take things like videos, documents, convert them into work instructions.
Correct.
So we'll go into those in more detail as we talk further. But this is, I think, a great place. Metaverse is a great place to collect all this data, visualize it, take better decisions, and feed this real time to the technicians on the ground, remotely, wherever they are in this world, to make better use of it, understand the problem, and on the fly do a RCA and make more sense of how to attack the problem and the corrective action.
Awesome. So you mentioned a little bit about tacit knowledge, and that has been something that has been a problem that the industry has tackled in different ways through recurring trainings and kind of knowledge transfer. Right. But at the same time, in terms of the acceleration that we are seeing in the evolution of this knowledge, in the evolution of, if we talk about aviation programs, the evolution of aircraft programs or new aircraft technologies coming out, and that knowledge becoming obsolete faster than what it was before. How do you see the digital twin technology helping in, first of all, addressing that element, and secondly also addressing the element of productivity? So as knowledge and efficiency kind of go hand in hand when we talk about a complex space like aviation. So how do you see that helping out?
Perfect. I think what I think that leads us to is basically the difference between the aerospace industry and the aviation industry.
Mm-hmm.
Now, aerospace is pretty much driven by the product OEMs,
Right.
where there's a lot of digital action, digital maturity, the kind of high-end, very high-end softwares that they use, the product lifecycle management, the PLM systems, and those are very high-end, high-cost softwares. And that is another area I think where Fabric really looks to make an impact with its no-code platform, which is also hardware and software agnostic.
Right.
Runs on the cloud, and also it runs on any device on a browser. So all that brings us to an environment like the aftermarket, where you're working with technicians on the ground who pretty much where you need to give them the tool, the software, or the access to data in a real-time and low cost manner, where it really becomes affordable, accessible to a wide range of people. And I think that is where we see the this whole twin digital threading, the data threading, the digital twinning technology going into the future. And on the flip side, what you see in the aviation industry is that a lot of data that is captured is actually not used or reused for productivity purpose. And I think that's where, if we are able to capture it through the SPARTA software and analyze it and that will help us really take productivity and how do you reuse a lot of information and data, I think, forward effectively.
Correct. Awesome. So while you mentioned SPARTA, so one of the key elements in SPARTA has been the simplicity as well as the very core specific focus on inspection of aviation assets, and to make it simplified enough for people like lessor representatives or people like airline technicians and maintenance staff, as well as MROs, where basically the range of maintenance can go right up to a very heavy maintenance check and things like that.
Right.
So, connecting the SPARTA piece with a three-dimensional digital twin technology and the metaverse, where do you see the most value impact happening through the use of these two technologies in combination, and what should we expect in terms of the usability or the usage element, and what it would translate in terms of dollar value for the users? Let's say, for example, if you were to take it in an airline maintenance environment or in a MRO environment.
Perfect. So let me to try and make it easier for the listener. Let me try and draw a parallel to something that they are more used to on a day-to-day basis, which is their car,
right,
which is the auto industry. And if you look at a car nowadays, I don't think there's any car that does not have a onboard microcomputer, microprocessor on it. And when you give it for service, the service engineer just plugs in a cable into a laptop and is able to see all the data, the performance data right there in front of him. I think by combining SPARTA with a 3D environment like Fabric, I think that's in a parallel. That's what we're trying to create.
Okay.
We're trying to create a digital environment where you don't have to go to each and every piece of equipment to try and analyze it and correct it, but you're going to get a much bigger picture much quickly right in front of you, and that, I think, is the beginning of creating a digital thread for the life cycle of the program. Now that brings us to the other thing. An aircraft, a car probably survives for 5-10 years max, whereas an aircraft survives for about 25-30 years, and then thereafter as a freighter, or probably another 5-10 years after that. So you're effectively talking about 40 years of product life cycle. And having this digital thread where you're capturing the inspection data and putting it onto a platform which is very intuitive, where you're connecting all the corrective actions that were taken in the past, I think gives you a platform where your learnability, training, knowledge capture, all that is going to effectively improve the way MROs address problems.
Right.
And when you look at the airlines and the MRO industry, almost 15% of the cost of running an airline is maintenance and repair.
Yeah.
Now, if we are able to make an impact on that 15%, given the trend towards low-cost airlines, that is likely to make a huge impact on their bottom line.
Right.
And I think that's going to be the more immediate, I think, ROI that operators of aircrafts can see immediately.
Right. Right. Awesome. And is it also fair to say that in terms of a long-term vision, is it fair to say that while the 3D digital twin technology is already capturing a fair share across a variety of manufacturing and maintenance industries, is it also fair to say that it is going to become more and more commonplace in terms of the element of maintenance in an AR environment or a virtual reality, augmented reality, wearable tech? What's your kind of crystal ball foresight in those kind of elements? And when we talk about technicians probably wearing smart glasses and doing all this maintenance in remote environments. So how do you foresee that panning out in the future?
Right. Absolutely bang on question when it comes to talking about the metaverse, because that's the first thing, and most of the work by tech majors has been in that area, the devices for making metaverse more accessible. But if you look at it, the metaverse is currently being ruled by the gaming and the, let's say, the consumer industry, where all these devices and gizmos can make a huge impact on the customer experience. But I guess once you're talking about hardcore industry, the guy working on the shop floor or in a service center, which is already at say 40 degrees centigrade in the afternoon, is not going to be very comfortable wearing anything more. Though we can talk about these things and make it useful to them for training, but on the job, they are, and this we have seen across industry. Okay. The technician, even though the management might give it to them initially, but as time goes, they learn to use it less and less, or they prefer to use it less and less because it just becomes a burden. And I think it will take some time for that piece of technology to come to a point where it is really seamless. Because today, if you're talking about smart glasses, you've got to carry a battery pack that probably has 4 hours, 5 hours life. What do you do after that? Does he plug in something else? So these are all, I think, for that technology, the hardware technology to mature will take time. Okay. And the service technician or the engineer is not a guy who has is very forgiving for these additional pieces of technology. He wants to get the job done. And I think that is where we see, if you just give him a tablet or a mobile, that he just keeps it on as this thing on his palm like a watch, he's more happy as long as you give it to him. So it is a big question, but I see it, and that is where I think Fabric, as the technology has been developed, is hardware agnostic. We as well run it, and we would prefer to run it and make life more easier for the technician than burden him with technology.
Understood. Yeah, great point, because these are the kind of things that, while being very exciting, do have inherent challenges and hurdles, which have a very human element to it.
Correct.
And which is why simplicity is what probably is more preferable at this point in time.
True.
You did briefly mention about Acumen and Augtual Reality and SPARTA and Fabric's collaboration. Just for the benefit of listeners, I would just like to add a few things, but how that partnership has in fact initiated and materialized, as we saw, complementing technology solutions, offering a much better value proposition to our customers and to our users. What is your take on the year gone by, and what do our customers, what do our potential users, and what the industry as a whole can expect from this partnership in the coming days?
I think when we began talking about a year back, it was very clear for us that we are a metaverse technology platform, and for us to get accepted in industry, we need to work with domain experts. And I think that's where the whole point of the discussion when we began talking. It was very natural for us to see a partnership where we are working with SPARTA, with Acumen Aviation, in providing that domain expertise that they are extremely strong in, with the kind of technology expertise that Acumen and Fabric has. And it was a very natural synergic fit in putting the two together and making it work for the aviation industry. And that has been our approach, and that's where I think that's the strength, where each of us is playing to our strengths. We bring our strengths to the table, and what the customer gets at the end is something that's the best of both the worlds.
Correct. So where do we see, what else can we see in terms of, obviously we are working, I think, very, very rapidly in terms of building a variety of airplane models into the system now. We are working on getting a lot of the initial teething issues. I actually don't believe there are any more teething issues. It is more about rolling it out at scale. How do you see, or where do you see the next step in this partnership, and what can we, as a concluding point to this podcast, what do we tell our listeners, our customers who are going to watch this podcast, as to what they can expect in the near term?
I think what we have done by bringing SPARTA and Fabric together is we have just scratched the surface now as far as the digital transformation onto the metaverse is concerned. There is a lot that I think as we start addressing specific pain points within the airlines and the MROs, what we could be providing them is far more, I think, efficiency improvement, productivity improvement, with the kind of meta-collaborative technology, getting multiple people. Because today's problem solving, more so in the airline industry, is not limited to a bunch of people standing around the aircraft. You need to get experts from multiple parts of the world. Could be from your suppliers, could be from from the OEM, and that's where Meta Collab makes a huge impact. combined obviously with the digital twinning that we're talking about. But as we go along, I think we will see, reusability using root cause analysis and work instructions also showing the way on how to get the job done faster, more accurately, without actually trying to reinvent it every time a new person attempts it. So you're talking about equipping your workforce with the kind of tools, data, and the information at their fingertips, where they don't have to really overthink something. And also getting senior guys, experts, and their knowledge into this platform, I think will only help airlines move faster and reduce that 15% maintenance and repair cost. That is, I see it as a huge burden on them today.
Right. Amazing. Thank you, Srinivas. Thanks for spending time with us and for all the great inputs that you had on this podcast. It was really a pleasure having you on this session today. We certainly hope that we do a lot more exciting work, and we certainly are very excited in terms of making a lot of this vision a reality, try to bring as much innovation to the industry as possible, and also to go further in our partnership together in the way we reshape the industry as a whole. So that was Srinivas Ramanathan today from Augtual Reality and Fabric, and I hope you guys enjoy listening into this podcast, also seeing the video and on different channels. Stay tuned for another exciting one coming in a few days' time. Until then, please share your feedback as well as any comments that you might have directly on the channel, or send us your emails, and we would love to hear back from you. Thank you.
Please reach out to us at sales@acumen.aero or support@sparta.aero for more details.